So picture this, if you will. The year is 1980. You have a profitable contract with the Austrian Army for bayonets and field knives. You're down at the local Ministry of Defense building finishing up some paperwork. As you're leaving, you pass two colonels in the hallway, and they're discussing a new supply contract for a new Austrian sidearm. This piques your interest. As a current contractor, you ask, hey, can I participate in said contract? Now, the colonels, they doubt you. They know most of what you make is just on some weird, outdated metal press from Russia, but they eventually give you the answer that you want to hear. So you rush home to start working on your new design for a new sidearm. Little did you know that that very firearm that you're working on would absolutely change the face of the firearms world as we know it forever. It has absolutely shaped the market into what we know and enjoy today. So if you know nothing about firearms, I guarantee that you've heard of this one. It's carried by law enforcement and militaries around the globe. It's loved by many at the local range. Hell, Tupac even saying about this gun. So by now you've probably guessed we are talking about the Glock handgun today on the Rifled Media podcast. So join us for an absolutely wild ride of both the man himself that built the company and the company itself that grew faster than anybody could have even imagined. But as cool as Glock is, this is not a love story. So if you're a fanboy, grab your binky, your cry blanket, and your teddy bear and buckle up because this is going to be a pretty rough episode for you. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us today on the Rifled Media Podcast. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Owen Walski, here again today on the Rifle Media Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Glock, the company, Gaston Glock himself, the guns, the entire crazy saga and story. I am joined today by three co-hosts. It's not just me and two people, me and one person, or just myself. First up, Josh Garlock. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
How was your trip? I heard you hit 105 in your Ford Edge. Safety third?
Yeah, we won't go there, but yeah, no, it was a safe trip.
That's good. Yeah, you don't speed. Law-abiding citizen.
Yep.
Next up, Matt Barker.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Doing good.
What'd you think of the truck plant today?
Pretty cool.
Yeah?
Cool.
Yeah? You gonna buy an F-150 now?
No.
Have you drank Ford's Kool-Aid?
No, Yoda or nothing, bro.
Fair enough. And then last, Sammy Sinclair, the man and the legend. How you, like the rest of us are drinking whiskey, you're drinking beer?
Because I had some whiskey last night and decided that beer was today.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, you woke up, you look like you drank a little bit of whiskey last night, for sure. Awesome. All right, so opening questions for you guys. What do you guys think of Glock? Do you consider yourself fanboys? Now, I know all of you own them. I've bought several from a couple of you here. Josh, what do you think?
I think they're very popular.
Yeah? Well, I mean, you owned one.
Yeah. I mean, I just bought, honestly, the reason why I bought it was just because I knew that was a pistol that everyone bought.
Yeah, you bought a 40 cal too.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Honestly, I just went for it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to ask for forgiveness for that.
Yeah, I didn't put any thought or reason behind it. Yeah.
I just want a gun.
Yeah. Later on afterwards, it's just like 40 caliber as opposed to 45 or 9. It's just kind of like, yeah, that was kind of stupid.
That's all right.
Yeah,
you can convert. Now, Barkus, you're the one that I think is on the fence with this.
I don't consider myself a fanboy.
Okay.
Just because I have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's definitely fucking true.
You know what I mean?
Can I question that? Because 3 years ago it was Glock or nothing in your book.
Well, it was Glock or you guys were doing these like piece of shit guns like what was the new hotness Canic when they first came out, or the whatever Turkish Girsan or whatever. Like, look at this $189 pistol. No. Yeah.
I just know there was a time period that you were 100% the Glock or it's a piece of crap.
Yeah, it was your police trade in 17 or it was nothing.
Well, no, because you guys were either... This is back when people weren't buying the guns we are today.
True.
You know what I mean? And, I run 1911s, I run revolvers. I have an old Smith & Wesson 59, 46. So it's just, they work.
All right, fair enough. That surprises me. So not a fanboy.
I don't think so. I mean, if someone says, what gun do I get? I say Glock, M&P, or... or the 320.
Yeah, no, that's what I say too.
That's about it. One of those three.
Sammy boy, you are famous for the Glock 17 Ghetto Blaster Edition.
Yes.
Would you call yourself a fanboy?
No.
Why not?
Because I think there are better guns out there, but I think for Glock, it's an all-around good choice for a lot of people, and I carry one on a regular basis.
Okay, well, you have, your 19 Vickers
Yeah.
edition. Yeah.
Love that gun.
So you love it, you carry it, but you don't recommend it.
Well, I recommend everybody, when they're looking to buy a gun, I think it's a great choice.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
I just think that there's other guns that are just as reputable and just as good out there.
Well, I mean, back when, there's the options. Everybody has a striker fire 9mm today.
Yeah.
In all sizes. So it really, and it's hard to fuck that recipe up. So
I agree. And most of them are direct copies of Glock or very close.
Well, it's kind of hard to be a fanboy, in my opinion, because, like, there's some people that are so far into the Glock cult that it, like, is almost looking at it like, oh, you're a snob to everything except for Glock.
All right. I'm sure that just triggered the shit out of the comment section for sure. The Glock cult. All right.
Well,
you're right, though. Those people have a chip on their shoulders.
You show up to a range, they come in with their Glocks. They've got a Glock in every caliber. And if you shoot something that's not a Glock, you're inferior to them.
Yeah. Nope. There are people that think like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so main story. You guys know who Gaston Glock, his first name's Gaston, right?
Yeah.
All right, a lot of people don't know that. So I'm going to call him Gaston, not Glock, because the name of the company that gets confusing. So Gaston Glock, born July 19th, 1929, Vienna, Austria. His father was a railroad worker, but managed to send Gaston to a technical institute where he studied mechanical engineering. Shout out to mechanical engineers. Yep. He got a job at a manufacturing company that made hand drills. He worked his way up before leaving the company to manage a radiator factory just outside of Vienna. While he managed the radiator factory, Gaston had a side hustle, which was manufacturing brass door hinges, curtain rods, and most importantly, field knives and bayonets for the Austrian Army. Do you guys know that Glock makes and sells knives?
yeah, supposedly they're cheap and good.
Yeah, they are. They're
That
pretty
I
cool.
did not know.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're like $40, I think.
Cheap. Yep. They're even on their website.
Yeah.
They come in different colors and stuff. Pretty neat. You want a Glock knife, Sam?
Now, hold on. Now, Bill Ruger started off with a drill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, anyone who wants to have a name in a gun company, design your fucking drills.
Start making drills right now. Yeah. Also, there's some real similarities between Glock and Apple and Amazon, believe it or not. All right, so by 1980, Gaston was 50 years old. Okay, so this all takes place in his 50s. It's never too late to be super rich and successful. He had a wife, 3 kids, was living a relatively modest life. In February of that year, as he was leaving the Ministry of Defense building, where he overheard, when he was leaving, he was down there signing paperwork for he was receiving some materials and payment for the knives and the bayonets that he gave. When he was leaving, he was walking through the hallways and overheard 2 colonels discussing a new sidearm contract. And they were actually complaining about the recent failure of the Steyr GB. Mm-hmm. It tested terribly. They really didn't like the GB pistol at all. So Gaston, always hungry for opportunity, interrupted the conversation to ask if it was possible for his company to apply for the pistol contract. The colonels doubted him. They actually laughed at him. They knew that most of what Gaston made in his garage at home was just like, small little trinkets, brass, hinges and stuff. But Gaston continued to press them, asking for requirements, what they didn't like about the Steyr. And Gaston, he was excited yet very skeptical that he could participate, so he went and officially, he talked to the Minister of Defense, and they gave him the go-ahead, but he said, he mocked him. He said, you can go ahead and participate. Why not? But he says, we are not going to give you any special treatment. We're not responsible for any of the money you spend. So,
which, that's fair. That's the way it should be.
Right, exactly. But they doubted him. They absolutely doubted him. So how about your entire life changing because you heard something as you were walking through the hallways? Like keep your ears open, man. So Gaston, now having permission to, work on this, he got to work right away, but he was not familiar with guns at all. Although he was in the military, he only had 3 days of military training. And that's not just 3 days of training on firearms, 3 days total. So he arrived at basic training, faked an illness, pretended to be sick, and was sent home. Yeah,
they just sent him home.
Sent him home.
Like, you're still in, just go home.
Yeah, like just, I don't know, throwing up or pooping or something. Just like, all right, dude, get the hell out of here. Go back to your garage. So he didn't grow up with firearms either. His family didn't have him, no hunting, nothing like that. Glock, it later admitted, where Gaston later admitted that he knew almost nothing about firearms, but only saw this as an advantage. So he rushed out to buy some of the most popular guns during this time. He purchased a Beretta 92F, a SIG 220, and a CZ75 and a Walther P38, because, those were really popular over there during the time. He disassembled each one, learned how they worked, and maybe more importantly, how they were made. He spent hours studying firearms design at the Austrian Patent Office, focusing on the newest designs and advancements. He even made sure to daily carry each one for a minimum of 2 weeks and fired several rounds through all of them. Although this was valuable data, he needed actual experience. Gaston reached out to many people who he considered experts on firearms, and this group included competitive shooters, military personnel, ex-employees for Mauser and HK, and had them all join him at his vacation home, where he questioned them intensely about what they would want in the pistol of the future. So this is something I want to talk about. When I was selling guns, people would say that Glock was trying to make a high point, and that he got lucky by making it as cheap and simple as possible. But that's not true at all. The guy put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard a lot of dumb things about Glock behind the gun counter, for sure. You guys know any Glock myths? You can sharpen a knife on the finish. The trigger is impeccable.
I know if you sand it down and make it polished, it looks good.
The ghetto blaster strikes again. Although they talked about many aspects of the pistol of the future, it was unanimously decided that it should be chambered 9mm, which is the best caliber. Eat it, Internet. So it had to be simple, very few moving parts, and have a service life of 40,000 rounds. Gaston was particularly interested in grip angles and external safety features. Gaston had nailed 2 pieces of wood together to help model the ideal grip angle. The group decided on an angle of 22 degrees, which is actually still what most Glock models are today. Couple exceptions for the compact models and etc. I think the 43, the 42, those ones are not 22 degrees, but they're super close. Yeah. Most interesting part of this discussion was the addition of the external safety. This is going to piss a lot of people off. The military members included in the group mentioned that there was an alarming number of police and military personnel that would fumble the safety, either forgetting to disengage it or not engaging it altogether. This led to a large number of accidental discharges. The experts told Gaston that the safety lever is a potential source of mishandling or misoperation during the use of the pistol. Gaston had experienced similar scenarios when carrying the guns he originally purchased for studying. He often forgot if the safety was engaged or disengaged. Gaston felt that if he had this issue and the experts had this issue, that a manual safety was only a hindrance to the operation of the handgun. This is why Glocks famously do not come with manual safeties. So here we go. How do you guys feel about manual safeties on handguns? Josh, comments?
Well, like I said, with my knowledge, so you're talking as far as the manual safety.
Yeah, click down with your thumb.
Oh, click down. So, I mean, me personally, I haven't had any issues or gripes with it. I mean, that's just me though.
Yeah, what were you trained on in the military, Beretta?
No, so being just regular, not being security forces or anything, I'm not M9 qualified. Mm-hmm. It's just strictly M4 qualifications.
Okay.
So even going through basic, they don't even go over M9s or anything. It's all just M4s.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Now, Barkus, do you have an opinion on this?
Not really. I mean, I run 1911s.
2 safeties, grip safety and a manual safety.
Yeah, grip safety, you don't have to worry, just grip the gun.
Right. But you also don't like Springfields. That's my favorite Springfield argument right there.
What do you mean?
Oh, I can't stand the grip safety on those Springfields, but I love 1911s.
What do you mean? Well,
Please explain.
I changed out all the grip safeties on all the thumb safeties on my 1911s.
Because you're lefty?
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't explain your love for grip safeties.
I don't have a love for grip safeties. Oh, you mean the springs, the stupid XDs, whatever.
The XDs have the grip safeties. People flip out, but love the same people complaining about that love 1911s, and it's whatever.
It's different. Because
it's different.
The grip shape's different.
Yeah.
The XDs are the poor design of a Glock, frankly.
Poor. Oh, God.
Right?
That's not going to go well in the comment section.
I mean, their fucking grip is square, right?
Yeah.
At least at 1911, it's oval, so there's a high spot.
Rectangular-ish.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
I get that. There's no high spot.
Sam, how do you feel about safeties on handguns?
I found that if I put a safety on a handgun, I always forget to take it off until after I've tried pulling the trigger twice. So If the gun has a grip safety or not, I would prefer not to use it.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I prefer not to have them. I had a CCW instructor that said, your holster is your safety. If you take it out, safety's off, right? I don't know how people feel about that. It's your own personal preference. Just don't shoot yourself in the leg.
But, like, if you're going to leave, like, the 1911s, like, you have the safety level that I kind of like because it's in a nice position that, like, when you grip the gun, basically your thumb's right there to knock it down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is kind of in a natural position. So.
Like, I've got the Smith & Wesson Shield that's got one that I wish it didn't because it's not easy to operate. You have to actually make a big point of getting it down.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I owned a Shield for a little bit, and I didn't like the safety on it either, so I got rid of it. Believe it or not, you can actually get a Glock put on. Like, if you buy a regular Glock, you can have a safety installed.
Yeah, it's the 17M, right?
So no, the 17M was their submission for the modular handgun contract that had to have a safety on it.
Yep.
But no, you could take any of the Glocks that I own, send it into a company called 10 Ring Precision, and they will retrofit your Glock with a safety for $138.
So is that for, like, California and Massachusetts? Like, I know they've got different rules. And,
Yeah.
like, they've got, like, Massachusetts has, like, those trigger pull laws.
I don't know. That might make a little bit of sense.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I've never seen
I think it's
safety.
just pure preference.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, good on for 10 Ring Precision. Selling stuff that's not needed.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. There's some guy mad screaming at his car radio right now because he had 10 Ring Precision put that on his Glock. So,
Damn it! Why'd I do this?
exactly. I'm not cool anymore.
Yeah.
All right, so anyways, armed with knowledge, Gaston now started to work to get an operating prototype together. He worked constantly between his current job and his side business to make this happen. He attended police academy classes, private shooting classes, and even attended shooting competitions. This was all in an effort to learn as much about the use of a handgun as possible. He even looked into new manufacturing techniques, such as plastic injection molding, and he had already had plastic injection molding machine to make the sheaths for the military knives that he already produced. So he had some experience there. He did reach out to an expert from a defunct camera company to help him perfect the injection molding pistol frame. At night, he would test fire early prototypes in his basement. He made sure to do this alone and only to test fire with his left hand in case the gun exploded. He would still have his good hand to do drawings and design work with. Yeah.
That's dedication.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Gangster. That's gangster.
Yeah.
Rick, risk the hand you don't need.
I just like the fact that he's got 3 kids and a wife at home and is shooting in the basement.
Yeah. Safety third.
You hear an explosion, you hear a scream, don't come down.
Yeah.
So do you guys know why Gaston named his first Glock model the 17? Why they called it the 17?
No.
Was it the 17th iteration?
Nope.
No, was it the magazine hold 17?
Nope. So if you look, they actually all go in order. The way they were built, it was because it was the 17th patent. So he patented a bunch of other stuff, and this was the 17th one.
Oh.
So that's why a lot of people think it's because of the magazine capacity. Tis not.
So there is no Glock 1. The Glock 1's probably a patent on a knife or something.
Yeah, or a hinge or something.
Yeah, probably something like that.
So the Glock 45 that just came out, is that the 45th patent?
Something like that. I mean, okay, so if you go through chronologically, you had the 17, then you had the 18 full auto, you had the 19 compact, you had the 20 45, and then you had the 22. I'm sorry, the 20 was a 10 mil. The 21 was a 45, and then you had the 22 was the 40.
And 23.
23 was the compact
26,
version.
Yeah.
26 was when that whole micro
27,
compact
yeah.
trays. Yeah. It just goes up and
That's
up
crazy.
and
I
up.
never thought about that.
Yeah. So after a year of working on his design and hoping he wouldn't blow off his left hand, he was finally ready to file a patent for his design. Although he had a working prototype, it would be another year of fine-tuning and refining to improve the pistol as much as possible. On May 19th, 1982, Gaston submitted 4 prototypes to the Austrian Army. Shortly after those 4 pistols were received, testing began. Gaston's pistol was radically different than the other handguns submitted for testing. It was the lightest, it was the cheapest, and had the least amount of moving parts.
What other handguns were submitted?
Okay, so I'll touch on that. The Glock 17 was also the easiest to manufacture, although it was not the only handgun with a plastic frame. Its slide was manufactured for one piece of bar stock and did not need any welding, riveting, or fastening to be assembled. This gave the Glock 17 a massive cost advantage over the other competitors. The plastic frame and the one-piece slide were those big advantages. Can you guess the other plastic frame handgun?
The HK VP70.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, so that was the only other one at the time, and that was the very first plastic handgun, believe it or not. But that thing sucks.
Garbage.
It's garbage. It's plastic garbage.
Oh, I thought everybody likes DHKs.
No, not that one.
Not that one.
I've only shot my HK shotgun. I've not shot anything else.
It's
made
the
by
HKVP. Rumor has it had like a 12-pound trigger, like horrendous.
It's a weird shape too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your shotgun is a Benelli. It was imported by H&K.
It says Heckler & Co. on it.
You're right. And what it says on the side is exactly who made it, no matter what.
Yes.
All right. Don't ask questions. Yeah, so the Army put each handgun through 10,000 rounds of 9mm. 20 malfunctions was set. You had to shoot all 10,000 rounds without any more than 20 malfunctions. After being fired with exposure to mud, sand, extreme heat, extreme cold, then dropped several times from a height of 2 meters onto a steel plate, the Glock 17 malfunctioned only once. At the end of the test, the pistols from FN and Steyr were ranked dead last. That does not surprise me. The rest of the pistols from SIG, HK, and Beretta did very well, but in first place was the Glock 17. The Glock 17 was able to win 88.7% of the total possible points available in the military test, and in early 1983, the Austrian Ministry of Defense ordered 20,000 Glock 17s. Gaston had pulled it off. Now put yourself in Gaston's shoes. You just manufactured 4 pistols in your garage. And now you need 20,000 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I won. Oh, shit, I won.
Yeah.
Reality slapped him in the face.
Exactly.
So
How do you even go about, like, garage 4 pistols to 20,000?
I mean, honestly, he could just sell it.
Yeah, sell the
point,
patent,
just sell the
Yeah.
patent.
Then problem's not yours.
Or just hope your kids don't need their left hand, you know? All right, Billy, you're shooting tonight. Yeah.
So how many rounds do they shoot through those?
10,000.
So let's just go out there and like talk about this for a second. I've bought ammo out of and shot thousands of rounds. There's a good chance that you don't have 20 bad rounds in that 10,000 rounds of ammo.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, too. I didn't think about that.
Like
Shooting Winchester White Box, like, you're going to have 20 rounds out of 100.
Yeah.
Or
so, like,
Talamo.
just think about that for a second. That was good ammo that they were putting through it. And to not have 10,000 rounds malfunction at all, I guess once, but
Yeah.
could have been anything. That could have been a bad round. It could have been.
Yeah, to just malfunction once, like, that's luck, in my opinion. The stars aligned for good old Gaston Glock.
Yeah.
It just all fell into place.
Yeah, I mean, literally, he was just walking through a hallway. It was like, hey, wait a second, what? And now he's got a $20,000 or 20,000 gun order.
But he spent a lot of money to get all that information from people.
Yeah, a lot of time.
That was not an easy win.
No, he put in the work, man.
Yeah.
He deserves victory.
Yeah, I was going to say, he put in a lot of work for that.
Yeah, absolutely. He also, like, after they gave him their recommendations, he made them sign paperwork saying that this is what they gave him. Like, I don't know. Crazy. All right, so in any situation like this, like when SIG won the recent pistol contract, there's controversy, right? People are starting rumors. Remember when Glock was walking through the hallways and heard the colonels discussing the recent handgun test and how the Steyr GB pistol did so poorly? Well, want to know what else was tested that round?
The Steyr GB?
No, the Beretta 92F, which performed very well.
Yeah.
Want to know why it wasn't chosen?
Cost.
Communist country.
Oh.
Yes. The Beretta, the socialist-dominated government at the time would not even entertain the idea of a foreign manufacturer procuring a contract for military equipment. This put the military in an awkward situation with Steyr. The only Austrian handgun maker at the time sucked so badly they couldn't even be forced to pick it. So all Glock really had to do was be better than Steyr in the testing and would have likely been chosen by the military anyways. So... Yeah.
Yeah, but still, at the end of the day, he
Yeah,
came
yeah.
across that he heard, and it was just like, you know what, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And he did.
I think this is mostly bullcrap. There's a ton of sources for this episode, and a lot of people hate Gaston. So they're looking for any excuse to talk crap about what he did. So
it sounds like he did a great job of making this handgun, but was he like not a good person?
we'll
This
get
process?
we will definitely get to that. We will definitely get to that.
Who
And some-
really is the man behind the name?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Trust me, this Gaston gets wet and wild here. All that being said, the tested conducting.
Took a contract for 20,000 handguns.
Yeah.
You're gonna get wet and wild too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
50 years old or not, man. Trust me.
Yeah.
All right, so, but apparently the Austrian Army tested all that stuff completely unbiased, and Glock still came out on top. So just had to give that disclaimer. So although Glock was certainly in the right place at the right time, his success was no accident. He worked hard to educate himself, put in the hard work, listened to his military contacts, and drew from the experiences of as many people as he could. He even thought outside of the box by working with plastic, injection molding, and simple slide manufacturing techniques. Even though Gaston made these guns in his garage, they would change the face of the firearms industry forever, and he never even lost his left hand. So, how many other companies were started in a garage? Big companies.
Barrett Firearms.
Apple.
Apple.
Microsoft.
Amazon. Yep. All right.
A lot of them. There's small companies all across this country that were started in somebody's garage.
Yeah, dude, we're in a basement.
Yeah.
We got to get this shit into the garage right now. All right, so...
Well, he did test in the basement.
That's true. We're testing. We're experimenting.
We don't
in
have
the
to
basement.
worry about any loss of limbs, though. So
Not yet.
not yet. Well, yeah, not yet.
The story's not over, dude. All right, so that's all happening in Austria. So Glock had to eventually make it over here to the United States. And we avoid politics on this podcast, but I have to mention some of these things. So it took longer than you would think for Gaston to start producing his pistol at a decent, profitable pace. In fact, Glock had little plans past supplying the Austrian Army. It was taking so long. He did, however, know that the possibilities were abundant. The Glock 17 was also being considered by Norway, Syria, Jordan, and even NATO for use in their militaries. Getting his factory built and ready to scale up production completely preoccupied Gaston. He knew nothing about the U.S. and its large market for firearms. This was until one day he was visited by a well-known law enforcement firearms dealer and writer of the Soldier of Fortune magazine. This guy's name was Carl Walther, Carl Walter, not Carl Walther. So just Carl Walter. I'm going to just call him Carl. But have you guys ever heard of Soldier of Fortune magazine?
Yeah, they're the inventor of 3-gun.
Correct. I think they held the very first one.
They did.
You're impressive, for real. Have you ever shot 3-gun?
No.
You ever shot any competition?
No.
Okay. You've shot 3-gun, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, very, very amateur level when it comes
gonna
to
say,
firearms in general.
You should try the tactical games.
We should do that. We should definitely do that.
We should not.
You guys we'll get you some pom-poms. You can be our cheerleaders.
We have to climb rope, and we're not going to do that goddamn shit.
They make you climb rope?
Yes.
It's like
and lift heavy stuff and run.
And shoot and climb
shoot.
through stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that to elevate your heart rate and everything?
It's pretty much like CrossFit.
I would say a tough mudder with guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, except there is no 3-gun. It's just rifle and pistol.
Okay. Yeah, let's knock out this marathon. Maybe look into one.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, we should. That would be sweet to
You
train
have to
for.
run a marathon first?
Yeah, you have to.
Okay, I'm out.
Can we like run it in a car?
Yeah, in a truck. Yeah, sure.
Horseback?
Anyways, so this law enforcement dealer, like I said, his name was Carl Walter, not Carl Walther. Totally different guy. This Carl had been in the gun business for some time and knew the U.S. market very well. He was actually over in Germany on business and was hoping to meet Gaston while on this trip. Although Carl thought the Glock 17 was ugly, he was confident it would sell in the U.S. Gaston, again, always hungry for opportunity, was interested in selling in the U.S., but knew he was nowhere near the production levels required to supply both the Austrian military and the U.S. But Carl is a very smart guy. He's got a lot of good ideas, and one of them was to convince Gaston to give a story about the Glock 17 to Soldier of Fortune magazine. The story would take some time to be published and then make its way through the firearms industry. This is before social media and stuff like that. So by the time it circulated around the U.S., Gaston would be up and running at full capacity, and the U.S. would be primed and ready to buy his pistol by the truckload. Gaston agreed. Little did either of them know the Glock 17 would be featured in much more than just a magazine. So like I said, this is where the story gets a little wild here. There are several idiots from the government involved in this story, and one of those idiots is a name by the name of, and I'm not making this up, his name is Noel Koch. Josh, can you say that name fast for me, please?
No.
No? You won't do it?
I'm not going to attempt it.
We're just going to call him Mr. Koch.
Mr. Koch.
But yeah, so in the late 80s, Mr. Koch was the Defense Department Chief of Counterterrorism. Koch had received a Glock 17 as a gift from his German counterparts. Whatever, I don't know what we're doing with German counterparts. But the Glock 17 was different from anything Koch had ever seen before. It was made of plastic, and this worried Glock. It's like throwing a new toy in the monkey pit. Just because it's different, they're going to howl at it for a while.
Was that the first polymer handgun in the U.S.?
I don't know if the VP-70 ever made it over.
I think it did.
I think it did too.
Yeah.
It would surprise me if it didn't come over in some capacity.
They're rare, but I think it did.
Yeah. So Koch grew very concerned the gun would get through metal detectors at an airport. So he devised a test. This is his test. He disassembled the Glock 17 and put the parts into a duffel bag. He also went so far as to wrap the recoil spring around a pair of glasses and remove the ammo from the magazine. With the Glock 17 spread into its various parts, he headed for Washington National Airport, set the bag down on the X-ray conveyor, and the bag came out on the other side with no one asking a single question about its contents.
Oh.
Yes, he had successfully
Can we
snuck it
imagine
through.
if we did that today?
You want to try?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, like I feel like there's a good chance like we could probably get through like some of the smaller airports, but like, if you get caught, like it's not something worth trying.
And the FAA has entered the chat, dude.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like it's not worth
TSA.
trying. Like the
TSA.
consequences of trying that are too great.
Oh, yeah, dude.
But like you hear stories of people getting knives through all the time.
I think it's the Atlanta airport where there's pictures of all the guns they confiscate.
Yeah.
And it's like 100 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you get in a lot of trouble. Like the people that like get caught, like usually it's I forgot it was in the bag, and they kind of feel bad for them a little bit, so they just get a nice big fine. But like you knowingly take apart a gun, like
Just to see if you can do it.
Yeah.
So you know what we need to do? We need to buy an X-ray machine
Okay.
and then try it.
No.
Try to get past each other.
but
Because
here's
that'll hold up great in court.
But here's the thing: the X-ray machine, you would be able to see it because you're familiar with it. You're looking for it.
Very well.
Yeah.
Good observation, dude.
So like
Comes up in the story here.
I'm thinking that like you look at it, like if those people aren't, they're trained very well.
So my question is, what year is this?
This is late 80s. I would say 1988.
So if you disassemble, because it went through the metal detector, right? They didn't have X-rays.
No, or they had
Sorry, this was before 1988. This was probably at 1984, 1985. My bad.
So they had metal detectors. They didn't have X-rays.
They did have X-rays.
They
But-
did have X-rays?
Yeah, but it's
So
very
if-
rudimentary.
So if you disassemble any handgun, are they going to see it?
You guys are 10 times smarter than any of the politicians in this story already. And like any critical thinking just led to exactly what we're going to cover here. So Koch freaked out. He became determined at that point to ban the Glock from ever coming into the United States. He immediately went public with his test results, and the media had a field day with it. They named the Glock 17 the Hijackers Special. USA Today had an alarmist-style column on plastic handguns, which at the time was only two, the Glock 17 and the HK VP-70, and they demanded the Glock 17 be outlawed. They even had a cartoon with the saying, "Plastic guns beat the metal detector." So here's a fun fact. The NYPD actually banned the Glock by name as they considered it a terrorist weapon.
So can you buy marketing like that?
No. That's literally... Yes. No, you can't. You
Exactly.
nailed it, dude. Like,
Exactly.
the Soldier of Fortune magazine meant nothing. Like all this was free publicity. So anyways, remember that the NYPD banned this gun by name. Maryland, South Carolina, and Hawaii soon did the same thing. Hawaii.
Yeah,
Come
Hawaii
on,
has some pretty strict handgun laws.
But it's Hawaii. Like, this is gun control. We'll call Texas. If there's a coconut shortage, we'll call you Hawaii. Like, just try not to get bombed by the Japanese again, okay? We'll come to your island when we want to get drunk. Just stay in your lane, Hawaii. Come on.
Oh, jeez.
since it was banned in New York, can we at least like have a good ending to the story where like we know that like
Oh, there's a good ending.
NYPD carries these now?
Yeah, trust me, there's a good ending to that story. In February of 1986, Mario Biaggi, the dean of the New York House of Representatives, announced that he would introduce legislation to ban non-metal firearms. This eventually made its way to the Subcommittee on Crime in the House of Representatives, and they began to hold hearings regarding this supergun. Once the hearings took place, it became very obvious that they did not have the whole story. What good old Mr. Koch didn't mention was that he also snuck another pistol past airport security in the same test he did the Glock. He didn't even disassemble this one. It was left in one piece. It was made entirely out of metal. It was also loaded, and it was also not detected by anybody.
Oh.
Yeah, he got an entire one-piece metal gun through. The real cause of the Glock slipping through was not the plastic frame, You can make it, bro.
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
Shit, where was I? Oh, yeah. So the real cause of the Glock slipping through was not the plastic frame, but the poor security practices in place by airport security.
In Washington, D.C.
Yep. Yeah. The ATF and the FAA even weighed in on this. They did their own testing and found that the Glock 17 was easily identifiable as a pistol through airport screening systems, and their official report said that it did not pose any special threat, even stating that the airport security officials are low-paid, poorly trained, and were doing boring, repetitive work. The ATF pushed even farther on this. They even went as far to state that the Glock 17 had more metal by weight than several other handguns made entirely out of metal. Listen, let's take a step back. If the ATF is like, whoa, hey, I think this legislation is a bad idea, something's wrong. Like, something's wrong.
Well, could you imagine doing that test? Like being allowed to do that test would be really
awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do when you get to the other side? Just get on your plane? Or do you whip it out like, hey, look what you missed?
Yeah, look at what you didn't get.
You guys missed something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So despite all this, right? So the ATF was like, hey, this isn't necessary. The FAA is like, we can see this. Koch was like, yeah, I kind of lied about what happened here. After several hearings on the Glock 17, the ATF, FAA, NRA, and even Gaston Glock himself presented hard evidence completely contradicting Koch's testing and the media's monkey-brained propaganda. The House still passed the Undetectable Firearms Act of 1988. This law still stands today. Do you know what that meant for Glock and his Glock 17? You know what he had to do to it?
Make it metal frame.
Guess. That's one guess. What's your guess?
That's what I was gonna say. Had to make a metal frame.
Think outside the box here. What did he have to do to it?
Add more metal to it.
No. He had to do absolutely nothing. The law they passed was utterly useless. It was completely useless. The law states it's illegal to manufacture, import, sell, ship, deliver, possess, transfer, or receive any firearm that is not detectable by walk-through metal detectors or any firearm with major components that do not generate an accurate image in standard airport imaging technology. The Glock 17 was proven without a doubt to be absolutely detectable by metal detectors and airport imaging technology. The very gun they wasted taxpayer money trying to outlaw wasn't even affected by the law they passed because of it. Yeah, good one, idiots. Tax dollars at work. Super. Yeah, I'm not making any of this up. That law still stands to this day. I don't think it's ever been used for anything ever.
No, but
I'm sure they're still trying to use that law with the 3D printed firearms.
I bet it will be put to use eventually.
But I find it interesting because in the movie Die Hard 2, where he's at the airport,
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I hate this.
They say Glocks are undetectable because of a plastic frame and a porcelain slide.
Which is
now, I think a porcelain slide would shatter.
Yeah, it's made out of the same stuff toilets are made out of. Toilet gun.
But I'm trying to think
like
what the
spark
year.
plugs are made out of porcelain too.
Yeah.
What are?
On spark plugs, porcelain.
Yeah.
Just the insulators.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of what year that came out because Die Hard 1 was 1988. I think it was 92.
So the guy who put that gun in that movie is actually in this story.
Okay.
I can't tell you exactly what he did because I'm terrified of that individual, but he did something really, really cool, and it has to do with the NYPD. Yeah, he's a superhero, that guy, for sure. But yeah, in that movie, they actually called it a Glock 7, not a Glock 17. Yeah.
1990.
1990?
Yeah.
Oh, I was close.
Oh, good call with the computer today. Awesome. Yeah, so it gets even stupider. Do you remember how the NYPD decided to ban the Glock because they considered it a terrorist weapon? If that sounds stupid, this will really sound stupid. Late in 1988, the press discovered that the NYPD police commissioner was carrying a Glock 17 as his personal concealed carry gun, despite the ban on Glocks by the police department that he managed. Want to know how they found this out?
So he'd be a terrorist.
Yes, that's correct. That is, by their definition, that's correct. This guy renewed his concealed carry license, and Glock 17 was plain as day listed as his registered weapon. Concealed carry permits are public records in the state of New York, so the press received an anonymous tip that they had hard evidence the city police weren't even following their own rules. This guy was a super genius. The tip actually came from somebody famous who works in movies. I'm not going to say his name because I am a very powerful individual, and I do not want to utter his name in any type of public. You can look him up. If you've seen a gun in a movie from, like, I would say maybe late 80s to like 2017, that guy probably had a hand in it if it was filmed in the U.S. You know who he is.
I know. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else who could be a possibility of, and I don't think so.
It's definitely the one guy.
He's a competition shooter, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, same person.
Yeah, the NYPD. Well, go ahead.
Okay. With him saying that, I think I got an idea.
He's pretty he's a very unique looking individual.
I was going to say, Sam, we have the same body tape as him.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Nailed it. So the NYPD almost immediately released a statement saying that this was part of a controlled test. For what, I was not able to find, but the very next day, the ban on Glock pistols was lifted.
I'm just saying, the test might have been if terrorists used them.
Yeah.
Then the guy was prepared
to
use the terrorist weapons against them.
Fight fire with fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely not intelligence with intelligence, though. No. Not even close. I like the fact that you, it's a good idea, have somebody on the laptop.
Yeah.
Any of your questions come up?
Hit us with one.
Yeah, throw one out.
No, I mean, one of them, well, like I said, because I'm not too familiar with Glock, one of the questions I came up with instantly was, why are Glock pistols so popular?
Well, we're going to get into that one here shortly.
Okay.
They were marketing geniuses. They really were. Actually, that's the next part of the story.
What, did they even have to market? Like,
yeah.
The U.S. had the marketing plan for them.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah,
I mean, like, that's what happens. You tell people you can't have something. You tell something it's dangerous. You know what I do when I hear that? I want to go buy whatever that is.
You get told you're not allowed to do something. The first thing you're doing is trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You buy the new sports car, you rip the emission systems off because it goes faster without it.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
Program it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so this is the part that makes Glock super successful and what gave them the reputation they have today. The Glock dynasty was built with strategy and tactics, and he had some amazing people working for him to make that happen. While the media and Congress were busy losing their minds and taxpayer dollars, Gaston was hard at work setting up base camp in the U.S. Gaston decided to settle on Smyrna, Georgia. Smyrna was desirable because it was located close to an international airport, and Georgia was a gun-friendly state and was relatively affordable to do business there from a tax perspective. In November of 1985, Gaston signed paperwork officially establishing a location at a small office park in Smyrna, Georgia. Gaston, lacking any business sense and familiarity. Gaston lacking, I guess not. Gaston lacking business sense and familiarity with the U.S. firearms market leaned heavily on his now business partner, Carl Walter. Carl was in charge of setting up the location and developing a business plan. Carl got to work quickly on a business strategy for the U.S., and part of that strategy was pricing. You guys ready for this? This is going to make a lot of people mad. Working with a Mr. Wolfgang Riedel, who was a Glock representative from Austria, Carl settled on a dealer price of $360. That was dealer price. And a retail price of $560. They set the retail price. So they set the retail and the dealer price. That's important. According to an interview with Mr. Riedel, this put their profit margins at 65%, netting them an average profit of $240 per gun. So let's do some quick math. 360 minus 240 means it costs about $120 to manufacture a Glock 17. Keep in mind, this is 1985.
Yeah, but that's pretty standard, though. I mean, if you're running a business.
It's not, actually, because the profit margins of other firearms in this era ranged from 5 to 20%. So they were more than triple the highest end of their next competitor.
So who's the real smart people?
What?
Who's really smart in this?
These
Glock, because they're...
Yeah, I mean, Gaston is smart. Carl and Wolfgang here are super smart because they wanted to set a high price. And I'll go into it, but they did not want to make the gun cheap because then it would appear to be a cheap thing,
especially
right?
being polymer and being lighter than
Absolutely.
counterparts. A lot of times people take weight and lightness as
value.
Cheap. Yeah. Or yeah, whatever.
And pricing yourself up to that higher value is going to appeal to a lot of people. You can price yourself into a market.
Wait, and how much was their retail price?
$560.
So their prices haven't changed hardly at all.
Yeah. So check this out. Gaston was not all right. So Gaston was not okay with this pricing at first. He actually tried to bring the price down, but Carl, being an absolute marketing genius, said, if you have a cheap price, it will give the impression of a cheaply made product. Gaston trusted Carl with this idea, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions he ever made. In fact, Carl went one step farther with their pricing strategy, and they still do this to this day. Glocks are sold at what's called MAP pricing, M-A-P. MAP pricing stands for minimum advertised pricing, which means a retailer cannot sell one of their guns lower than the MAP pricing set by Glock, or it's a contractual violation. They lose their Glock dealer's license, and that's why it's pretty hard to get a good deal on a new Glock. They're all within about $30 of each other. So when I wrote this at the time, the price of a brand new Glock 17 Gen 5 on Cabela's website was $580. Cabela's is normally pretty high priced when it comes to guns. Their MSRP or not, I'll probably get a nasty gram from Cabela's, but that's the truth. They're normally high. In contrast, guns.com, which is usually one of the cheapest places to find a good deal online, a Glock 17 Gen 5 is $545. Between the known higher priced retailers and the known lower priced retailers, there's a difference of $35. So I know they give a little bit of leeway to the retailers on what they can charge, but not much. The price of a Glock 17 is still about $560.
So can we just go back to the fact that they were basically giving the dealers $200 to sell a gun? Is that like...
No, they were screwing over the dealers by getting $240.
No. They're saying...
No, they were selling it to the dealers
for $350, right?
$350.
Yeah.
And then they were letting the dealers sell it for $560.
Oh, yeah, they were fixing... Yeah.
So the dealers were making $200 per gun.
Somewhere around there.
Is that like... I don't know anything about the gun industry with retailers, but like, is that normal for a retailer to make that much on a gun?
No.
To be honest with you, I don't know.
That seems like a lot.
No, I talked to a couple people in the know, and they said typically your profit margins are extremely low on new guns.
I remember being... I know on new guns, but I remember being told once, and I'm not going to bring up the scenario that was taking place, but my manager was like, hey, we make more money on those Glocks when you sell them. He's like, I just wanted you to know that. Like, if you're trying to do good for the company, sell more of those. So,
like, it seems like they took care of the dealers, in my opinion.
And which is smart, right? Take care of the people who take care of you.
Well, yeah, because then they push them more.
Yeah, what that dealer sells it for doesn't affect Glock, but what the dealers buy it from affects Glock. So, take care of them. What's up, Josh?
No.
Nothing? Okay. So here's the multi-million-dollar question. Do you think it's gotten cheaper or more expensive to manufacture a Glock 17 today?
Cheaper.
I think so, too. Advancements in CNC, robotics, plastic injection molding technology, like...
I have it on a good source. It is cheaper.
Yeah. So your source is right, because by the late 80s, Glock was able to push their production costs down to below $100 a gun because their production volume, because of their volume and advancements. I can't imagine what it is today. So, yeah, that kills me. I mean, I've bought maybe one new Glock in my life, and I spent like $560 on it.
Then you hear that, and it's like,
what the heck is going on here?
Just getting hit in the gut.
Yeah. Got punched right in the wallet.
Yeah.
So pricing wasn't the only thing that Carl and Gaston did absolutely right when it came to selling and promoting Glocks. They did two things that definitely changed the face of firearms, changed the way the market worked forever. First, they focused on selling to police departments. This technique was not new. What was new was how they were doing it. They sold them at a massive discount. That was the first thing they did, especially to large accounts like the NYPD. But this was not because they were selling in bulk. It's because they were taking their old revolvers and other weapons as trade-ins. Because their manufacturing costs were so low, and their willingness to take trades, they were able to make the firearms affordable to just about any police department, security force, government agency out there. So they were still making money on the Glocks, but they were basically making 100% profit on the large volume of used guns they were receiving as trade-ins.
Were they selling those guns?
On straight wholesaling into the market.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can keep the pricing confidential, and if you got a cost of less than $100 a gun, NYPD, you want to buy 5,000 guns from me? Yeah, you can have them for $200 a piece. Give me all your old stuff, which I'll sell for $200.
Yeah.
It's so much money.
Wow.
Could not imagine how much money they were making.
Well, also...
do they have a really nice blue line program still, don't they?
Yeah, that...
I don't know exactly how it works.
I don't think it's nice. I think it's nice.
It's like it's in the threes last time I checked. I want to say $375 for a blue line 17 or something.
But think about how smart it is, because essentially when they're buying all the old guns and switching it for their Glocks, they're changing the face of what they care, or they're changing the idea of that department, because once the guys retire who carried revolvers or whatever, and then you just have the people who all they've known are Glocks, which is where we're at today, right?
Yep.
Young people under the age of 30, typically all they know is polymer pistols.
That's all they've seen. Yeah.
So now is that blue that Glock, that Blue Line program, is that like a discount? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a discount. Fire, EMS, and military and police. Pretty sure.
Okay. So I was just kind of looking it up. I mean, I'm just on a random website right now, GT Distributors, and for Glock Blue Label program, for instance, thank you. A Glock 47 Gen 5 9mm 477.
477. Yeah. So
$100.
that's what I was gonna say. About $100 off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking like that, like around 470 for a lot of them.
I remember it wasn't great, but it was something at least. Yeah, so by making a concerted effort to sell to law enforcement, they were able to position their guns on the hips of millions of officers around the U.S., quickly gave them the reputation as the choice of professionals, and although Glock's competitors at the time were targeting law enforcement as well, they were not able to be as competitive, flexible, or profitable as Glock could be. Gaston and Carl were very proficient when it came to business acumen. This comes back into the story later. So the second thing they did was a lot cooler than the first. Have you ever been to SHOT? You've never been to SHOT Show?
No.
Okay, so I'm the only one here that's been to SHOT Show, right? Okay. So I've been to SHOT Show. Definitely a cool experience. One of the things I noticed when I was there was the very large amount of very attractive and well-dressed women while I was out there working some of the booths.
That is
Wait,
what
hold
you would
on. Was
notice.
this,
Of course.
Yes.
was this SHOT Show?
There's
or-
millions of guns, and you only notice the women.
Yeah.
Wait, now was it SHOT Show or was this AVN Show?
No, this was, so they're actually very close together.
I know.
I almost want to say they overlap, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So do you know who started all that?
Uh-huh.
Glock actually. So there were women out there before, but they were definitely not strippers, which is this case. And we know the gun world is uber duper conservative. So it was like, I saw Sally's ankles at the Winchester booth. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, do you see that Colts chick shins?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Look at those shins, doll. Look at those shins.
Lord have mercy.
Exactly. Finding that chapel in the casino after those days, for sure. So yeah, by now, Glock was hosting all sorts of law enforcement and security officials at their location in Georgia for training and time at the range. At night, however, the hosting continued, just on a very different type of shooting range. The Georgia Glock crew was famous for hosting extravagant parties at a local strip club called the Gold Club. To quote directly from one of my sources, you go to Smyrna, you get laid at the best strip club in town, drink champagne. You're not forgetting that experience when it comes time to choose between Glock and Smith & Wesson. Of course, Glock denies any prostitution or the use of drugs at these events, and I mean, how could there be anything like that? They were all cops. Cops would never do anything like that, would they?
No.
I wouldn't think so either, man. Yeah, not gonna lie, working for Glock back then sounds pretty cool. So
Sounds very rough. Sounds like you would have a very rough life.
yeah, it would be hard dealing with all that. So believe it or not, there was a gentleman's club in Atlanta called the Gold Club. I looked this place up.
That was.
So
It's not around anymore.
the building still exists, and it's still a gentleman's club, but it's no longer called the Gold Club. I don't want to say the name of the new club that's there, but when I looked this place up on Street View, it was pretty interesting. For some reason, Google Maps drove their car around the whole parking lot. I'm serious. I'm serious. You can go through every corner of the parking lot on Google Street View. And there are several views of the building available on Google Street View. If you want a good laugh, look up Gold Club Atlanta. Look at the Street View footage and let me know in the comment section what you see on the sidewalk across from the Waffle House. Trust me, there's a lot going on in that Street View.
So
Should we do that right now?
If you want to. Yeah, it's definitely an Atlanta strip club.
Can I say we need a screen? We can pull stuff up.
Let me get some episodes up, and eventually we'll have a screen and better cameras, and maybe a bigger studio, and better whiskey.
And maybe you could iron your backdrop.
I'm not ironing the backdrop.
Just need to leave comments. Hey, your backdrop wrinkly as fucking hell.
Okay, those.
I think the first time you get one of those comments, I think we need to make it more wrinkly.
No.
Yeah, if you
We can
comment on my
figure
drapes,
that out.
I will fight back. You see
Done. Done.
See any,
Fake accounts coming your way.
Hold on, I'm just looking it up right now.
see anything interesting? It may take you a minute to find, but you'll notice somebody enjoying themselves.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait.
All right, yeah. We'll keep moving. We'll keep
Yeah,
moving.
okay.
But once you find it, you let me know.
I think I have an idea.
Anyways,
What the guy's doing.
all right. In late 1989. Do you see that? Yeah. Like, what are they doing? Like, I can't tell what
Can
they're
I see
doing.
it?
Dancing, bro.
You want to see?
Yeah,
You can turn it. I can blur it so it doesn't freak out. But yeah.
It looks like he's what's the guys that spit on
Well,
cardboard?
wait a second. It looks like we got two guys sitting in nice chairs underneath an umbrella, probably consuming a beverage. And that guy looks like he just fell down. It looks like he was having trouble navigating the curb.
No. If you find the other angle, things get stranger.
Well, I'm telling you,
different.
what's the guy? I think he's breakdancing.
Nope.
Yeah, it looks like he's breakdancing.
Thank you, Josh.
He might be. I don't know what he's doing.
There's another angle.
I mean, I'm gonna go. Well, I see a Subaru now.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
Finest car in America.
Anyway, you can Jesus.
Yeah, we can play around. We can press on.
Yeah. Anyways, worth a look. So the year was 1989, and Glock was ready to head to SHOT Show to debut the new 10mm Glock 20 at SHOT Show, but Carl, always trying to be an innovator, had an idea one night. Carl assembled a crack team of 50 Glock salesmen and managers and had them report for a special assignment at the Gold Club. They proceeded to hold tryouts for their new spokeswoman that would accompany them to SHOT Show the following year in 1990. There were 300 girls who tried out for the club that night.
I mean,
tried out.
I'm sure it's just money.
But
They're
300 strippers.
They're like, you want to be paid to go to Vegas?
Like, that's a 300 movie I would watch.
Well, like, if you're paying for the trip,
Exactly. You're paying them to travel.
and they can probably make more money there.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not saying anybody's stupid here. I'm just saying 300 strippers?
We need to have a.
We didn't see 300 people today at the truck plant. Like,
We need to have a female broadcaster here.
yeah. Anyways, so the crack team decided they settled on a stunning young woman by the name of Sharon Dillon. Sharon Dillon wasn't just some bimbo, though. She was required to take a 4-day training class, as they wanted her to be educated and be able to speak to their products at the show. She actually ended up being the top shooter in her class and scored perfectly on all their written tests. Turns out she took this class alongside a group of people from Homeland Security, which means Homeland Security got outshot and outsmarted by a stripper.
Way to go. Way to go.
Good one.
That makes us feel good.
Yeah,
I know,
we're
right?
safe, guys.
Good job, Homeland
We're
Security.
safe. In fact, Carl did not want anyone to know she was a stripper because of this. So when people would ask, and they asked a lot, she made quite the splash. He would say, "I can't tell you," and most people just assumed she was CIA.
Do we have pictures of her?
We do. She's all right.
What's the name?
Sharon Dillon. SHARN. ARON, sorry.
Hold on.
And Dillon, like,
DILLON.
correct. Their advertisement at SHOT Show that year included a picture of her and the phrase, "We have the hottest tent in town," both referring to Sharon and the new Glock 20 chambered in 10mm. Rumor has it that the Glock booth was completely overrun at SHOT Show this year.
So was the 10mm like popular before the 40?
Yeah, remember, so after that Miami shootout, the FBI wanted a cartridge that,
Yeah, and they went to the 1046
So they went to the
or
10mm.
1045.
Okay.
but they didn't go forward with the 10mm. They went
No,
to the
no, 40.
4006.
I think recoil was too much for smaller stature people.
Correct. Also, it was a bigger, heavier gun. We're going to talk a little bit about that here. It's a pretty interesting story because Gaston pulled some Thomas Shelby stuff from and an absolute gangster move and cost Smith & Wesson millions of dollars. It's insane. So I could have gone a lot farther with the Gold Club. It's a significant part of Glock history. They even went as far as to hand out T-shirts to these strippers and told them to wear them around town and at work. So when the company eventually acquired a private jet, there was often just Gold Club girls just hanging out, tagging along for the ride. Yeah. So in addition to targeting law enforcement first, they were one of the first companies to use women to sell their guns. Glock was the choice of professionals and law enforcement and professional strippers. Okay, so I don't think we could do a podcast on Glock without talking about the Sigma.
Smith & Wesson Sigma?
Smith & Wesson Sigma. Do you know what a Sigma is?
No.
Do you know what a Sigma is?
That was actually my first firearm I ever purchased.
Yeah, the SDVE, right?
Yeah, which
Yeah,
was
same
what
thing.
came after the Sigma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remarketed, rebadged.
That was the gun that did not work very well for me.
Yep, absolutely.
Had nothing but problems with that since the day I bought it and until the day I sold it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the one where a bullet got stuck in the barrel. So you guys used a taper punch to punch it out until the punch got stuck in the barrel. That's true, right?
I don't see an issue.
That's-
That would be accurate.
Yeah,
That
that
was
gun.
not one of our vital moments.
Yeah, that gun got sold to somebody too, didn't it?
Yes, that did get sold.
Well, all you did is recrown the barrel pretty much.
Yeah, that's
The
all it
taper
was.
punch, yeah.
Just recrowning it. Safety third. So anyways, we have to cover the Sigma and the very murky lawsuit that followed. Remember that old round that nobody uses anymore called the 40 Smith & Wesson?
Yep.
Anyone remember that? That's going to trigger a lot of people. Like, I can just hear the comment section just exploding.
I think 40 cal is pretty much, I think that argument's pretty much been had.
Dude,
Even though I need to buy a 40 cal.
Why? Why would you need to buy a 40 cal?
Because during the pandemic, what ammo was everywhere. And it was still cheap.
Honestly, that's my stance on it. I think caliber debates are stupid unless it involves pricing and availability.
Yep.
So fair enough. So 40 Smith & Wesson was obviously the brainchild of Smith & Wesson, who was responding to the FBI's request for a round with 10mm-like performance, but could be retrofitted to a smaller, high-capacity handgun. This request was in response to the 1986 Miami shootout, in which the FBI took significant casualties. I'm not going to go over that. That is an extremely well-documented shootout. Like, you don't...
There's been plenty of people who have debated that. Straight
up, and it's just not even worth it. So Smith & Wesson, with the help of Winchester, came up with the 40 Smith & Wesson cartridge, which the FBI really liked. They found it acceptable in all their tests, chose it to adopt as their new caliber of choice. Smith & Wesson planned to launch this caliber alongside one of their new handguns, the 4006, 4006. I just call it the 4006.
Yeah,
Is that how it goes? Okay. So you would think Smith & Wesson would have it made. You would think it's in the bag. They were definitely going to get the business with the FBI. They were definitely going to sell the FBI their guns. It was all going to work out great, right? That's what I would sound. That's what it would seem. Yeah, Gaston had other ideas. So Gaston obviously knew about the new caliber coming and was able to source some testing while at SHOT Show that year. When I read this, it said that he went over to the Smith & Wesson booth and grabbed a handful of ammunition. They just had live rounds, apparently, hanging out, just chilling out with all these guns at SHOT Show.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, safety third. Safety third.
Yeah.
What is gun safety?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, SHOT Show, all the guns are pretty much deactivated anyway.
Sure. I still wouldn't want live ammo.
No, but I mean...
It just takes that one person.
That's all it does.
Well, we know you've been there. So when you were there, was there ammunition there also?
No. And some of the guns were like zip tied and stuff. Like, I'm sure many of them are deactivated, but I didn't know ammo. And I'm pretty sure that's a strict
Well, like
thing.
even if like somebody likes debuting a new like hollow point cartridge or
Well,
I think they do cutaways.
Yeah, or dummy rounds or something
round,
like that. There's definitely ways around it. Yeah, so he grabbed a handful. While he was evaluating, right? He was looking at it and noticed that he could easily, cheaply, and quickly adapt the Glock 17 to shoot it. So in short order, the Glock 22 was born. And a week before Smith & Wesson released their new handgun with the new 40 Smith & Wesson cartridge, Glock launched the Glock 22. This alone was not a huge deal. What was a huge deal was that Glock had prepared for this. He had thousands of Glock 22s already made, so they were able to sample and supply police departments, most notably the FBI. Smith & Wesson drug their feet on the production of the 4006. Not to mention, it was based on an old-school metal frame design, had a slide-mounted safety.
Well, I mean, the old school, third gen they call it, metal guns, they're heavy as hell.
They have the rail. They've got the rail on them.
Yeah, they're tanks.
Correct.
They're durable, but goddamn, they're
Can
fucking
you imagine
heavy.
carrying that on your hip all day?
Or concealed wearing a suit as an FBI agent.
Yeah.
No way, man. So, yeah, it held less rounds of ammunition, too. The FBI loved the Glock 22 and immediately adopted it.
But didn't they have problems with the Glock 22?
Frame
Cracking?
That's when they went from 1 pin to 2 pin up front, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
And that's also, there was something around the locking block.
I think those are cracking, too.
Nowadays, they're metal injection molded, and they're pretty tough, but I think back then they had issues.
Yeah.
And they also, so the recoil spring on a 17 is, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 pounds, and I think all the 40 cals are 17 pounds.
I thought they're all 17.
Maybe
I don't know.
17? I don't know. I thought there was a difference. Due to service life, I thought there was a difference. But anyways, so the FBI loved it and adopted it. Glock used Smith & Wesson's own ammunition to steal their business from the very government agency that helped them make it. How gangster is that?
Yeah.
Like, I would be... So Smith & Wesson freaked out. They did a lot of things wrong here. But it's still, regardless of what Smith & Wesson did wrong, it's still an impressive move by Glock.
So, like, they didn't have a patent? Well, they might have had a patent on the cartridge.
They sure did.
But they didn't have a patent on...
Who could shoot it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, how could you have a patent on a...
You can't patent use.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, Smith & Wesson got absolutely boned, and they definitely knew
Sure,
it.
Smith & Wesson tried to take him to the patent court on it.
Oh, they did some real dumb stuff. So needless to say, Smith & Wesson got their ass kicked. They were pissed about it, so the big wigs at Smith & Wesson pushed their engineers hard for a new pistol that could compete with Glock. The engineers at Smith & Wesson were convinced that the new plastic pistols were a fad. It would never catch on in the U.S., just like the internet. Actual quote from one of my sources: "The gun is uglier than a sack full of assholes. Who would want it? It's plastic." Smith & Wesson's leadership...
You, buddy.
yeah, exactly.
Everybody that has an asshole wanted it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Smith & Wesson's leadership disagreed with this. And on one day, the CEO had finally had it with their engineers and product development teams and stated, "If you can't come up with a better handgun than the Glock, then copy the motherfucker." That is an exact quote. They just said,
And they
copy
did.
it.
They tried.
And so the Smith & Wesson Sigma
Wait.
was born.
Question: what gen? Do they have Gen 2 Glock 22s?
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
Is that or is that Gen 3s?
Don't know.
The reason I bring that up, because I find this ironic. If it was the Gen 3, if Glock just let go of their Gen 3 patent, and now everybody
Oh, yeah.
is making their own version of a Gen 3 Glock.
Yeah.
Palmetto.
Yep.
What's the other one?
Well, there was...
Shadow Systems
Yep,
or whatever.
that's true. Shadow Systems.
And a couple other people. They're making their versions of Glock Gen 3s because
Yeah.
their patents ran out.
There's metal frames now.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny because if they got on the Gen 3 patent infringement, I find that hilarious.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I couldn't really find... a lot of this story came from somebody who worked in Smith & Wesson's marketing team at the time. So she was in a lot of these meetings. And
Those had to be some fun meetings.
yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Stuff thrown against the wall.
Josh, what did you find out?
I was just looking up for the Glock. It was the Glock 22, right?
Correct.
One about the Gen. It looks like Gen 2. It said Gen 2, 1988 to 1997.
That would make sense to me.
Which, I mean, I think they gave up the Gen 2 patent too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that. But
Yeah.
who's going to patent a frame without a rail on it?
Well, I'm sure the Gen 2 and Gen 3 patents are kind of, what do they change?
True. Very true. Yeah.
If you really wanted to add oil, it wouldn't have been hard to add oil.
People do it to Gen 2s. They can solder in rails in the dust cover.
I'm not sure I would do that. You had a Gen 2, didn't you, for a while?
I have one in my duffel bag upstairs.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no clue what the Ghetto Blaster is, to be honest with you.
Pretty sure it's a Gen 2.
Gen 3, I thought.
Is it a 3?
I think so.
You bought that from the gun show in Columbus, and it was like different colors, wasn't it? Was
No,
that you?
I thought you said a dog chewed on it or something.
Yeah,
No,
that definitely happened.
my first Glock I ever had was I found somebody that was willing to go to a gas station, trade. Oh, we probably need to cut this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so obviously Glock wasn't going to just take this line down. They filed a lawsuit within months of the release of the Sigma. Smith & Wesson, of course, claimed that this was completely insane and accused them of copyright infringement. But Glock persisted, and the whole situation was settled out of court. Now, the details of this lawsuit are pretty murky. To my knowledge, it was never officially released, but here's what I was able to find on the dark web in the comment sections of Pornhub. Allegedly, Smith & Wesson paid Glock somewhere between $5 and $8 million, and had to modify the sear and trigger bar mechanism. Legend has it, this modification is why the trigger on the Sigma was so bad. Even today's SDVEs, which is based heavily on the original design of the Sigma, that trigger still isn't that great. It's not bad. It's not great. Again, that's going to trigger a lot of people in the comments section for sure. So I almost bought a Sigma as my first gun. True story.
Same.
Was working for Gander Mountain. I was about to turn 21, and the store owner was like, "You can't buy it, but you can put it on layaway." So I was back there trying to pick one out, and I was like, it was like $250, and I was like, "Yeah, I want this one."
It was a good deal.
Right. And the gun owner was like, the gun counter guy was like, "You work here, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You want to work back in the gun counter, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You buy that gun, you're gonna stay at the cash register forever."
Oh,
I was
jeez.
like, okay.
I wish somebody would have said that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it, and then I bought a used Gen 2 17 for
Better.
my first hand. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. I bought a P226 in a parking lot when I threw it after I turned 21.
Yeah, legally. of
Legally.
course.
In state of Ohio, that is legal.
Yeah, in state of Ohio, that's absolutely legal.
My first handgun was the SDVE 40.
My God.
The reason I went with 40 was because Kaiho
Of course.
made a big deal that he had a 40 and that we could share ammo and bulk order ammo.
That's such a Kaiho thing to say.
That is such.
That's such a, I'm going to get my friend to help me save money. What? If he ever watches this, we're on to you, Kaiho. We know. We know.
Wait, also, can I say, if he watches this, I've never seen anyone stick their ass out so much to shoot. It's almost erotic, okay?
God.
He used to shoot in full, like, squat position.
He did, in gym shorts.
Oh gosh.
God. Okay. We cannot roast Kaiho on this.
Yes, we
Hey,
can.
Kaiho, we love you.
I am
Yeah,
all
dude, we
about
love
this
you.
right now.
We love you. We hope you're doing good, man. We hope you're doing good. All right, so Gaston might seem like the hero in the story, but I promise you he is not. In fact, we don't have enough time to cover half the things old Gaston Glock was doing, but we do have time for one of them. This will also be the ending of the story and one of the best parts. In 1985, so this is early Glock, Gaston met a man by the name of Charles Marie Joseph Ewert. For this story, we're just going to refer to him as Ewert. I could not find the official pronunciation for his name. But Ewert worked as a financial advisor, some would say, to wealthy people and institutions. He had a well-known reputation for being a thief and a cheat, but Ewert had worked for the Luxembourg Stock Exchange and was very familiar with how the tax law worked in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a special place. It does not tax corporations anywhere near the rate in which they are taxed in other countries. The specifics around this were over my head, but bottom line, Luxembourg is considered by most definitions.
It's a country within itself or whatever, right?
It's a tax haven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many, like a ton of companies have holding companies there just for tax evasion, from what I can tell.
Legal tax evasion.
Legal tax evasion, yeah. So remember, Gaston had little to no business training. He was not a businessman, he was an engineer. So Gaston became aware of how much money he was beginning to make and told Ewert that he was looking to shield that money from taxation. Ewert confidently agreed that he could make this happen. Ewert proceeded to set up several holding companies, or better known as shell companies, all over the world. He did this to dilute the earnings, ownership, and financial liability of Glock Inc. Each company he set up added layer after layer of confusing financial red tape. This mess of companies would eventually confuse even Gaston Glock himself. It was one case, it was an obscure injury liability lawsuit. Gaston was being questioned, right? And they asked him who owned Glock Inc. He replied with the name of two shell companies that Ewert had set up, Glock Austria and Unipatent. But when asked who owned those companies, he responded with, "I don't know." This threw me for a loop. This guy, extremely detail-oriented, you don't know who owns the company with your name on it? Like, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
you
but-
trusted Ewert.
Yeah, and it comes down to liability, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you say, if you hit someone and say, "I'm sorry," you're admitting fault. So you just say, "I don't know who owns them. I'm just some dumb engineer."
Somebody hit Barker later and be like, I don't know. Wasn't me, dude. Yeah, I mean, I
He
think
might put a dent on my truck, so I'm not going to do that.
I'll be peeing in some corner.
yeah, I don't know. He could have been lying, maybe. Maybe he did know. But either way, it became very clear that Ewert was doing his job like super well. So I'm not going to try to get deep into these sketchy business practices that went on at Glock, as they're pretty well documented on the internet. Long story short, there was a lot of embezzling, moving money into shady accounts, and an absolute metric ton of tax evasion. Billions of dollars. Many of the upper management of Glock faced federal charges and received different levels of sentencing. This was a big deal and made headlines for a long time. I think I saw some, like even as late as like 2011, 2012. They were still sentencing people and people were still going to jail over this. And like for a long time, they kept finding more and more details. But despite all that, Gaston managed to stay out of the jail cell. Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that, and then how he treated certain individuals in his business, both male and female. We could discuss the wild, straight out of a movie confrontation he had with one of his attorneys. Yeah, so his attorney showed up with a gun at his house, and Gaston was like, "Okay, pull up." Got his own gun, and like there wasn't a guy from accounting that was like, "I just need this signed," and they're like threatening to kill each other over the kitchen counter. That's a crazy story.
So they were arguing over his kitchen counter. Like, "I want this fucking marble in my house."
They were arguing over a woman.
Oh.
It's always a woman.
Yeah,
It must have been some good woman.
Yeah, and some accountant had to go over there for something.
And he was married with 3 kids at the time.
Oh, Yes, he was. Yeah, but he also so about that wife screwed her over entirely. She tried to sue him. He left her with nothing, and she tried to sue him and lost. So she ended up with nothing.
Wow.
He married a 20-year-old nurse.
Traded up.
It was definitely love for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely love. She was his like bed nurse or something, live-in nurse.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
Sorry for him.
He's 93. I think she's 33 now.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Is there pictures? They're married.
Yeah,
right?
there's pictures. It's all over the internet.
Josh.
Internet. I'm looking.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is when things really started to unravel. But we're going to cover one of the things started to unravel for a lot of reasons. But there was one big event that kicked off this whole heap of investigations, accusations, and insanity. Do you guys know that Gaston had an assassination attempt?
No.
No.
Yeah, they tried to kill him.
Which way? Did he try to assassinate somebody, or
Someone tried to kill him.
so somebody like hired somebody to kill him?
Yeah, this is. You guys find pictures?
Ex-wife?
That sunglass pic. It's pretty.
What? Describe what you're seeing for the audience.
A very German blonde, 30-ish woman, decent looking.
Yeah.
I would have expected more. I hate to say that, but
For a 93-year-old man,
with $1 billion,
For a 93-year-old man,
He's killing it, dude.
Yeah, he's killing it.
he is killing it. All right,
I mean, ooh.
you got to take down the pictures of the ladies, Josh, because Barker will not focus.
No, I'm focusing.
There's a picture of a woman on your computer screen, so just take it down.
I'm focusing. You're talking about
All right,
something.
let me put a picture of Betty White up. So
That's worse. It's Barker. That won't matter. Don't do it.
It just
Back-
looks,
back
oh,
in-
female.
Back in the day, though, Betty White.
Betty White. And she had it going.
Go show off limits too.
Golden Girls, my God.
Man. Okay. All right.
Continue.
So,
Assassination attempt.
did you know that they tried to kill him?
No.
Okay.
No,
How
but
old was
after
he when
after hearing some of the stuff you said, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, after arguing over the granite on the
So-
kitchen counter, that
So can we just like? I'm having trouble chronologically like following like his ages through this.
Yeah, that's fine.
So like, how old was he when we had this argument across the kitchen counter?
Okay, so
Because guns in the workplace is not something foreign to me.
he was 70 years old at the time of the attack.
Wow.
So really, just old enough to not give a fuck.
Yeah, and I think at this time, so this was right when stuff started to unravel. So yeah,
He's getting to the age of most of our politicians
That really don't care.
that
Yeah.
can't care. They are probably on Alzheimer's medicine.
Yeah, well, are you gonna put him in jail? He's an old man.
Yeah.
Like whatever, and he's paid some taxes, so
Some taxes.
I don't know. I shouldn't stand up for him.
Better than the place we went today.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Do not say that company name.
I'm pretty sure he was the one that was famous for like firing his whole accounting team when he had to pay like $150 in taxes.
We saw the movie. They wanted to unionize, so he beat the hell out of them.
Allegedly.
No, it's on tape. It's pictures. It's not allegedly that happened.
No. He was never charged.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Those could have been just some ruffians looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I just want to stir the pot a little.
You guys sound like scabs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you pay me enough, I cross that line every time.
All right, so they tried to kill him, and this is the dumbest assassination attempt ever. Like, if Michael Scott from The Office tried to assassinate you, like, it's that bad. So Glock became skeptical of Ewert. He thought that he knew that he was stealing from Glock and decided to confront him about it. Gaston set up a meeting to discuss finances, quotation marks. Gaston left the purpose of this meeting intentionally vague. Ewert was no stranger to this type of thing and became immediately aware that he was in trouble. So Ewert hatched a plan. The plan was to pick Gaston up at the airport, drive him to a secluded parking garage, and show him a new sports car that I'm sure Ewert acquired legally. Then a master assassin that Ewert hired would be waiting for Gaston in the shadows. Sounds like a good plan, right?
Agent 47.
Yeah. So the assassin would obviously know Gaston owns a gun company, right? A massive one. So Gaston would probably be carrying a gun, right? And the assassin, that Ewert hired would be waiting for Gaston in the shadows, probably with a gun too, right?
Wait.
Didn't he just get off an airplane?
Yeah. Well, remember, he flies private.
Oh, he's that high baller.
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, never mind then. He
Well,
could have a gun
Could I
on
just
him.
ask this? Did the assassin at least have a Glock?
No.
He had a Glock knife, okay?
Ooh, the irony.
I'm not answering any questions about the assassination because this is ridiculous.
Which I mean, hypothetically, suicide question mark?
Okay.
Shot off the Glock?
Ooh, you're onto something there.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about this master assassin, right? The man's name was Jacques Pietier. Yes, he was French, and in fact was once a member of the French Foreign Legion.
Totally gonna say it sounds French.
Yeah, it sounds great, right? Because he was in the French Foreign Legion.
Did he pay with everything in gold coins like the John Wick movies?
Oh yeah.
No. He was not a master assassin. His
Cleaning crew.
His career actually took a pretty strange turn, and he was now an ex-professional wrestler. He was also 67 years old at the time of the attack. So we have the French geriatric version of Nacho Libre, poised and ready to take out Mr. Glock in a parking garage.
And how old
Can
is
we just
Glock at
throw
this
this
time?
out?
70.
Okay, so it's fair fight.
67 was 70, fair fight.
thank
But
you.
like, if I'm hiring an assassin, like, I would at least try not to go with the budget assassin.
Right.
Yeah, for real. Like you
Correct.
said,
So
like
he
the
ta-
Nacho Libre.
Bringing
Yeah.
the guy out of retirement.
Well, Sam, think about it. Who would be expecting you and me? We can't move fast.
Dude, it gets worse. It gets way worse. Do you know what weapon he used? Remember, this guy was once in the French Foreign Legion.
A tire iron.
He was familiar with weapons, and also probably the Undertaker Tombstone pile driver finishing move from WWE, because he was an ex-professional wrestler, now turned assassin. So guess the weapon.
Give us a ballpark.
Okay, not a gun,
Not a gun.
Candlestick.
Shovel.
not a shovel.
baseball bat.
Nope. All those make way more sense.
Wait, hold on, wait. A rope.
No, that would make more sense too, but no.
Butter knife.
Dodo.
Sam, you get one guess.
Engineered to
The big
perfection.
purple dragon.
Purple dragon.
Total mustard candlestick in the library.
Nope. Mallet.
pencil. A mallet?
Not a hammer. Hammers are made of metal and sharp on one end. A mallet.
Like a rubber mallet.
A rubber mallet.
Hey, I've heard. I like where his head's at.
Why?
I've heard worse ideas.
How?
Dodo. Okay.
Okay, valid.
You know, a dead blow.
A dead blow would be worse, I would think.
Okay.
Then a mallet. I mean, was it a lead mallet?
No, it was a rubber mallet.
Yeah.
Okay, but granted, yeah, I mean, being human flesh and blood, I mean, it doesn't take much to injure or screw somebody
Well,
up.
especially if you smack someone in the head.
They wanted it to look like he fell down the stairs.
Okay, you cut that
Okay,
part out.
but here's the thing. That
Well,
wasn't
then pick him up
part of
and
the
throw him
plan.
down the stairs.
That wasn't part of the plan. Ewert did not know any of that. This Nacho Libre guy came up with it himself.
Oh,
so
jeez.
really, Nacho Libre
So-
could have just killed the guy and
Yeah.
gotten his money.
So now
You
the
could have used a
Walmart
baseball bat. Like,
So now the Walmart brand hired assassin isn't even on the same page with the guy who fucking hired him.
no, not even close.
so
terribly
literally-
executed.
So wait, hold on.
Also, Ewert ran away when it happened.
So we had a 70-year-old was able to run away.
Hold on, it gets worse.
Okay.
It gets much worse. No, Ewert fled the
Ewert.
scene. He
Ewert
freaked out and ran away. Yeah,
Not Gaston.
yeah. So, anyways, he used a mallet. When I read this in my head, I saw an old man dressed as Nacho Libre coming screaming out of the shadows with a mallet in his hand. When I read this, so everything actually went as planned.
Can somebody hit me with a mallet? Like, can we like?
I'll put them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a good dead blow? We can just crack him once.
Great dead blow.
Well, the dead blow scares me more than a mallet does.
Same thing. It's a hammer with lead in it. Pretty much.
I'd rather get hit with a mallet than a dead blow.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll test it.
dead blow only changes duration of power.
Like, I'm not sure where I want you to hit me yet, but like I kind
It
of
does.
Like to
I
know
did
what it-
math into it and did all this other shit because I was like, oh, I need to design my own breaching tool. And then I was like, did I make a dead blow breaching tool? Turns out there's
Okay.
no purpose to that. Okay.
Okay. How much of that whiskey have you been
lot.
drinking, dude? Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, okay.
All right, but what about Gaston? Right? He owns a gun company.
Please tell me he used his knife.
Unarmed.
Door hinge. He had his
Unarmed.
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 Oh,
The unarmed gun company is
Yeah.
unarmed.
Yes. So that was
Not
surprising.
feeling it that day.
That was surprising to me. He had like I said, private jet, political friends, connections everywhere. He certainly could have been carrying a gun if he
Why
wanted
didn't
to.
he have
Maybe he's
security?
just too up on that high life, you know. I mean,
Well, and
I
he
mean,
was going
private-
to a meeting to confront somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Also weird, right? Super
You
weird.
know, like
that is
hypothetical situation. What if like Donald Trump was asked to go see a sports car? There'd be like 9 guys with him.
Yeah. True. So anyways, Gaston was 70 years old at the time of this attack, and without a gun, he only had his hands to defend himself. Now, Gaston was no slouch. He would take cold water swims in a local lake by his house in Austria, and he would sometimes invite his guests or employees to join him. Gaston would often swim naked. True story. One of his employees wrote about going for that swim. He jumped in the water, turned around, looked up at the dock, and could see Gaston's ballsack
On a 90-year-old man.
on a 90-year-old man. Yep.
Now, were the employees female?
No, this was. I know the employee. This was a male employee. The guy that actually threatened him with a gun.
Hey, no judgment.
Of course not. No, I would get in the water naked with you guys. Whatever.
Okay, I guess that's okay.
I should pump the brakes on this conversation.
I've been in a pond with Bunko before.
Yeah, except we weren't naked.
No, but we swam a long way that day.
We did. Owen did not.
Yeah.
Owen took the shortcut.
I had an open wound on my foot.
That's not what we care about.
The real test of friendship is when you're naked doing it.
I am
It was
so
not
sorry.
squeezing that day.
I am so sorry to the listeners right now. Okay. Anyways, despite all this, despite Jacques' military experience, professional wrestler abilities, and of course the rubber mallet, Glock beat the shit out of this guy with his bare hands. He actually knocked him unconscious, and the cops found Gaston sitting on Jacques' chest, with Jacques bloody and unconscious lying on the ground with his arms stretched out to the sides. Both Ewerk and Jacques were arrested on the spot. So Glock actually fought this guy and won.
Jesus.
And then sat on him.
Yeah, and
That's
then
the
sat
best
on him.
part.
Yeah.
He beat him and then sat on him.
Yeah, so the arrest of, so Glock beat the crap out of this guy, knocked him unconscious. Like I said, Ewerk got 20 years in prison. He's still in prison in Luxembourg.
But can we just wait a second? We've got a man that doesn't even know how his companies are structured. The only man that knows how his company's structured is in prison now. So
and hates him, trying to kill him.
Absolutely.
yeah, and trying to kill him. So like, what do you do now?
Yeah, so the U.S. government got heavily involved with that situation. Heavily involved in that situation. Jacques got 17 years, but was released after 7 for good behavior, and probably because of the immense amount of shit he took for being the world's worst assassin ever. Yeah,
Well, I mean, if he would have been wearing his tidy whities and his mask,
his onesie.
his onesie, his mask,
Exactly.
shock and awe.
Yeah. Anyways, Ewert's investigation kicked off an even deeper investigation into the Glock empire and led to the arrest of several high-ranking Glock executives. Like I said, you can look that all up online. It's pretty well documented. So that brings us up to Glock today. And things at Glock have changed a lot since those days. Nothing too exciting since all those investigations went down.
Do they still have hot females
Yes.
speaking for
Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do.
them? So the business structure hasn't changed.
Yeah, I mean, and their tactics haven't, but like there's no more embezzlement as far as I know.
That you know of.
That I know of, but they're out of the news.
Yeah.
There's nothing in
For
the news
now.
about him. For now, that's true. And believe it or not, Gaston is still alive to this day. He's 93 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still kicking and going.
And married to a 42-year-old woman now. That's
Yeah.
definitely love.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I saw pictures of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
He's doing good for his
He's
age.
doing
They
good
still
for
fight
you.
off a mallet attack though.
I don't know. We should find out. She was this woman was his home nurse, by the way. So
But-
go ahead.
But I mean, Glock isn't what it was. You know what I mean?
So we'll get to that. Hold that thought,
Okay.
though. All right, so fun facts on Glock before we talk about that. Glock produces roughly 275,000 handguns just in the United States. That's according to some data I got from the ATF and was released in 2019. Glock is very private about their business dealings, extremely private. They're
Well, if
still
they aren't publicly traded, it would be in the best interest to say.
Are they?
Right.
Are they publicly traded?
no.
No,
Not at all.
Private.
And when you aren't publicly traded, you don't have to release everything, so you
Yeah.
can release what you want. So like a magazine might come to you and be like, "Hey, how many guns did you sell last year?"
And you could say between 100 and 500,000.
You can
probably
say
could.
estimate it at a couple hundred or
The number sounds
couple
low to
hundred
me.
thousand.
I don't know.
The number sounds low.
175. What did you say? 175,000?
275,000.
That's still a lot of guns.
Yeah.
They're like 3rd or 4th place. I think like Sig and Ruger beat them.
Yeah, but
Serious.
I mean,
But those both
their government contracts are running up.
Worldwide.
Yeah,
too.
but I mean, they're
But if you're saying that they got beat by Sig and they got beat by Luger,
Mhm.
well, Glock doesn't have any long guns. They both have long guns.
Not
This
yet.
was handguns only.
not
Oh,
yet.
This was
handguns.
handguns only.
But anyway, no, I
I've
mean
seen
like,
the Glock AR. Yeah.
but I mean like,
They have an AR now?
It's a prototype only.
but I mean
for
like,
custom
currently people are shooting the Gen 4, right?
Yeah.
Police departments.
contract. For the most part.
We're not going to see any new upticks until they switch to Gen 7 or whatever's coming down the pipeline.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still the #1 choice of handgun by law enforcement, and judging by what I've read and heard and my personal experience, I think most of the military wishes they had Glocks instead of 320s. Can you comment on that at all?
I haven't come across any of the 320s yet, but I would say a lot of guys would probably want to stick with the Glock.
Yeah, no, I would say so too. I have 2 320s.
Because
and
yeah,
several
because
Glocks,
the 320 is supposed to be like a modular deal,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Now, I
like
mean,
that.
Josh's views are not the views of the DOD.
True, very true. But I don't know. Like the 320 is not
This
new.
is my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking on behalf of the DOD.
But for real, yeah, the DOD
Sees differently.
Yeah.
Apparently, they got a pretty good deal in those 320s. But that's a topic for another podcast. Again, that comment's probably going to trigger the hell out of the comment section. But
It's going to happen regardless.
Hey,
so.
I'm just saying.
But what's tough with the situation is everybody has their own opinion.
That's true.
Right.
And I'm sure there are people that grab a 320 and think that the 320s are very, very nice.
They are very, very nice.
They're good guns.
But I've dropped my Glock before and it's never went off.
Yeah.
So has that been a thing?
What?
Has that been an issue with the 320s?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Recalled.
yeah.
Ton.
Big time.
Okay.
Big time. More than once.
Have you ever known of a Glock recall? No. Perfection,
Okay.
motherfuckers.
Because I will
Wow.
say, I
No,
will
I
say this:
haven't.
when
I
the
don't.
320 did come out, I was really interested on how it was like the modular aspect of it,
Yeah.
and that was something I was looking at into getting. But I kind of just over time just kind of stepped away from it. Just
To
for
me,
other-
that's a useless feature. Like,
yeah.
I have two 320s. I've never once considered doing anything like that.
Can we?
Well, hold on. There was one issue. The Gen 4s at one time issued 19s with 23 recoil springs.
Oh, okay. That's not a.
I don't know if that was a recall or
But
not.
wasn't there something about the
transparent.
cases at one point?
I mean, cases. They bulge at the base because they don't have a 100% supported case.
Smith & Wesson had the same problem.
Exactly.
But
not
like,
that
wasn't there
uncommon.
something with like Glocks, like case, like Gen 1 cases or something that?
You mean like the Tupperware
Oh.
containers?
No, those I almost wrote about those. With the post that went through the trigger guard. Yeah, now that's not a. They actually never recalled anything. Went to court for
Okay.
it several times. That's a shady part of Glock history. I almost wrote about it, but I don't want to waste
Well,
too
like,
much
because
time.
I understand why somebody would do that, like in a gun case, but like you have to understand, like that's not a great way, especially if somebody's going to put it back in the case loaded.
Oh yeah, I've been in
I
gun
don't
shops
understand.
and seen holes.
Yeah.
at the end of them.
No, I mean, I know where there's a Gen 134.
So do I actually.
Yeah. We
All
need
right.
to get a handle on one.
So we can't talk about this too much longer. I have to say, as much as I do enjoy the Glocks that I own, I wouldn't consider myself a fanboy. I just happen to shoot them the best. I'm manufacturer agnostic. I don't get attached to brand names. I don't simp for brand names either. So I would say that I am very much not a fanboy. Closing questions for you guys. Do you think Glock is still the king? Do you still think they are considered perfection? Josh.
I mean, I'd say in their own sense, they're their own form of perfection. You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all based off personal preference and opinion, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd say that they're a stable, reliable firearm.
I don't think you can say.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean-
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, for my closing comments, if you have perfection, why is there's fucking 5 generations of it?
Yeah.
Now, for me, what drives it is purely used accessories. Holsters,
Yeah, that's
sights,
true.
everything.
Magazines.
Magazines are a big thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Good point. Like my Steyr, you can't find anything for that gun.
no,
But I can-
holsters or anything.
You can build an entire Glock with parts.
That's
you buy
why I
online, yeah.
recommend people who are looking for their first handgun buy whatever the military and LE shooting. Buy that because you're going to find used shit for it
Yeah.
that'll work.
Nope. That's really right.
Oh, they work.
Sammy, how do you feel, man?
They're not the prettiest guns, but they didn't want to be the prettiest gun.
Yeah.
If they wanted to be the prettiest gun, I bet they could figure that out too. But they are very reliable, and there's a lot of people that use them.
Yeah. Function over form. That's
Yeah.
why they look the way they do.
Absolutely.
And I think they're a very stable handgun.
I agree with all that. My point is, like, I don't think you can call something perfection that's been improved upon so many times.
No.
M&Ps have improved on it. I'd say the 320 has improved on it. Like, it was a great idea. It broke the mold, but there's been better iterations since. They need to stop putting plastic sights on the guns. Okay? Stop putting plastic
Wait, hold
sights.
on.
I've pulled
What
new
if-
ones out of the box, and the front sight has been shattered.
What
So-
if they just sold a gun without sights?
That would be your perfect
That'd
weapon.
be my gun.
Yeah, no sights needed, baby.
You know, I use sights, I take them off, and then I forget where I put them.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, thanks for joining us today on the Rifle Media Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us some topic ideas. Send us an email at rifledmedia@gmail.com. That's rifled with a D, media@gmail.com. We appreciate you watching. Catch you next time.